Chief Adebayo Martins had everything except the one thing that haunted his dreams every single night. 300 billion naira in assets. 37 companies across West Africa. A mansion in Banana Island with 18 bedrooms. But no heir. No son to inherit his throne. No one to carry the Martins' name into the future. And now, with death's cold hand wrapped around his throat, that emptiness felt like a knife twisting deeper with every labored breath. The stroke came without warning. One Tuesday morning, he was in a board meeting signing a $50 million deal. By Tuesday evening, the left side of his body had gone completely numb. His speech slurred like a drunk man. His legs refused to obey his commands. The doctors at Echo Hospital gathered around him with grave faces. Massive ischemic stroke, severe brain damage, paralysis on the left side, 6 months to live. Maybe 8 if he was extraordinarily lucky. His wife Victoria wore black to the hospital. Not mourning clothes, but a designer black dress that cost more than most people's yearly salary. She held his good hand and whispered sweet words in public. But her eyes? Her eyes were doing mathematics, calculating, planning, waiting. Victoria Martins had been married to Chief Adebayo for 28 years, and for 27 of those years, she had been planning for this exact moment. The moment when her husband would become too weak to stop her from taking everything. But Victoria was not the only predator in the Martins household. Chief Adebayo had 4 children from his first marriage before his first wife died in a mysterious car accident that was never properly investigated. 4 children who had grown up watching their father build an empire and who now watched him dying with barely concealed excitement. Tunde, the first son at 35, was supposed to be the heir. But Chief Adebayo had caught him embezzling from the company 3 years ago. $2.4 million funneled into offshore accounts. Chief Adebayo had covered it up to protect the family name, but he had never forgiven, never forgotten. Tunde knew this, and the knowledge ate at him like cancer. Kemi, 33, was married to a pastor. But not just any pastor. Pastor Jeremiah ran one of those mega churches where private jets and Rolls Royces were called blessings, and poverty was called a curse you brought on yourself. Kemi and her husband were already planning how to funnel Chief Adebayo's wealth into ministry work the moment he took his last breath. Bola, 29, had spent the last decade in London, pretending to study business management while actually running through her father's money like water. Drugs, parties, designer, everything. She flew back to Lagos the day she heard about the stroke, not to comfort her father, but to make sure she would not be written out of the will. And finally, Segun, the last born at 26. A gambling addict who owed 12 million naira to some very dangerous people in Lagos. People who had started sending threatening messages. People who had made it clear that if Segun did not pay soon, they would start taking payment in blood. His father's death would solve all his problems. The inheritance would clear his debts and still leave him rich. Not one of them loved him. Not one of them visited him in the hospital because they cared. They came because they were protecting their investments. Victoria made a decision on the 3rd day of Chief Adebayo's hospitalization. She needed someone to take care of him at home, someone to feed him, bathe him, change his diapers when he lost control of his bowels, someone to watch him deteriorate day by day. But she was very careful about who she chose. She did not hire an experienced nurse. Those people were too educated, too aware of their rights, too likely to notice if something went wrong. She did not hire a professional caregiver. Those people kept records and asked too many questions. Instead, she went looking for someone desperate, someone young, someone who would be easy to control and even easier to blame when things went bad. That was how Grace Okonkwo entered their lives. Grace was 19 years old and fresh from Ajegunle, one of the most brutal slums in Lagos. She had been in the city for exactly 4 months, living in a face me, I face you compound with her aunt and 5 cousins. Her aunt sold pure water sachets by the roadside, making barely enough to feed everyone. Grace had finished secondary school 2 years ago with excellent results. 5 A's in WAEC, straight distinctions in NECO. She was supposed to go to university, supposed to study medicine, supposed to escape the poverty that had strangled her family for generations. But her father had died. Malaria that turned into something worse because they could not afford proper treatment. And her mother? Her mother had disappeared 6 months after the funeral, leaving Grace and her 2 younger siblings behind with nothing. Grace had come to Lagos because her aunt promised to help her find work. Promised that in the big city, a smart girl like her could make something of herself. So far, Lagos had given her nothing but rejection letters and closed doors. When she heard about a job opening as a housemaid for a rich family in Banana Island, she did not ask questions. She did not negotiate. She just said yes and prayed it was real. The interview took place in the mansion's visitors' room. Victoria Martins sat across from Grace, studying her like a scientist examining a specimen under a microscope. "Have you worked as a maid before?" Victoria asked, her voice sweet as poisoned honey. Grace hesitated. She knew she should lie, but something in her could not do it. "No, ma. This would be my first time." "Have you taken care of a sick person before?" "Yes, ma. I took care of my father before he died. I bathed him, fed him, gave him his medications." Victoria smiled. Perfect. Inexperienced, desperate, and already familiar with death. This girl would be easy to manipulate, easy to break, and when the time came, easy to blame. "The job is simple," Victoria explained, leaning forward. "My husband had a stroke. He cannot walk, cannot feed himself, cannot do anything without help. You will take care of him. You will do everything he needs. Do you understand?" "Yes, ma." "If anything happens to him," Victoria's voice dropped to a whisper, but her eyes turned to ice. "If he falls, if he chokes, if he has another stroke, if anything goes wrong, you will be held responsible. The police will ask you questions. My lawyers will ask you questions. Do you understand that too?" Grace felt a chill run down her spine, but she nodded. She needed this job. Her siblings back in the village were counting on her to send money for school fees. "You will stay in the servants' quarters," Victoria continued. "You will eat after everyone else has eaten. You will not speak unless spoken to. You will not go into any room except my husband's room and the kitchen. And most importantly, Victoria leaned so close that Grace could smell her expensive perfume mixed with something else, something that smelled like hate. You will not get any ideas about who you are or where you belong. You are a maid, nothing more. Do you understand? Yes, ma. Good. You start tomorrow. Your salary is 40,000 naira per month. 40,000. It was barely enough to survive in Lagos, but it was more than Grace had seen in months. She nodded and thanked Victoria, not knowing she had just walked into a trap. The Martins' mansion was the biggest building Grace had ever entered. The floors were Italian marble that she was terrified to walk on. The chandeliers hanging from the ceiling cost more than her entire village. Every piece of furniture looked like it belonged in a museum. The servants' quarters, by contrast, were a small room behind the main house. No air conditioning, no proper bed, just a thin mattress on the floor, a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. But Grace did not complain. She had lived in worse. Victoria led her to the master bedroom on the second floor. The room was massive, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the pool. But Grace's eyes were drawn to the bed, where a man lay propped up on pillows. Chief Adebayo Martins. He was only 58, but the stroke had aged him 20 years. His face sagged on the left side. His left arm lay useless on the bed. Drool leaked from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes stared at nothing. "This is Grace," Victoria announced loudly, as if he were deaf. "She will be taking care of you from now on. Grace, say hello to my husband." Grace stepped forward nervously. "Good afternoon, sir." Chief Adebayo's eyes slowly focused on her. For a long moment, he just stared. Then, with enormous effort, he managed to speak. His words were slurred, difficult to understand, but Grace caught them. You are just a child." "I am 19, sir." "Too young for this." Victoria laughed, but there was no humor in it. "She is old enough to work, darling. Now, Grace, let me show you what you need to do." For the next hour, Victoria demonstrated how to change Chief Adebayo's adult diapers, how to feed him without letting him choke, how to move his paralyzed limbs to prevent bed sores, how to give him his medications at precise times. Grace took mental notes on everything, her stomach churning at the intimacy of it all. She would be washing this man's body, cleaning his waist, seeing him at his most vulnerable. When Victoria finally left them alone, the room fell into uncomfortable silence. "I am sorry," Grace whispered, not sure why she was apologizing. Chief Adebayo turned his head to look at her. His good hand trembled as he raised it, gesturing for her to come closer. She approached cautiously. "What is your name again?" "Grace, sir. Grace Okonkwo." "Grace." He repeated it slowly, as if tasting the word. "That is a good name. You will need it in this house." Grace did not understand what he meant, but something in his tone made her shiver. The first week was hell. Grace quickly learned that Chief Adebayo was not her only responsibility. Victoria made sure of that. Every morning at 5 a.m., Grace had to wake up and prepare breakfast for the entire household. Not simple breakfast either. Victoria wanted fresh smoothies with imported berries. Tunde wanted a full English breakfast with eggs cooked exactly 3 minutes. Kemi wanted oatmeal with honey and nuts. Bola wanted nothing because she was on some crazy diet, but she wanted Grace to prepare it anyway, just so she could reject it. Shegun wanted whatever was easiest, but he wanted it served to him in bed. After breakfast, Grace had to clean Chief Adebayo, bathe him, change him, brush his teeth, comb his hair. The first time she had to change his diaper, she ran to the bathroom and vomited. But she came back and finished the job because she needed this position. Then she had to feed him breakfast, give him his morning medications, help him do physical therapy exercises that the doctor had prescribed. By 10 a.m., she was already exhausted. But the family made sure she never rested. Tunde was the worst. He treated Grace like she was invisible until they wanted something. And then he treated her like she was a slave who should be grateful for the opportunity to serve him. One afternoon, while Grace was helping Chief Adebayo eat lunch, Tunde called from downstairs. "Maid, come here." Grace looked at Chief Adebayo apologetically. "Sir, let me just go," Chief Adebayo said quietly. "Do not make them angry." Grace hurried downstairs to find Tunde sprawled on the leather couch, watching a football match on the giant television. "Yes, sir?" "Get me a beer from the fridge." Grace ran to the kitchen, got a cold beer, and brought it back. Tunde took it without looking at her. "Open it." She opened it and handed it to him. "Where is the glass? Are you stupid? Go get a glass." Grace ran back to the kitchen, got a glass, brought it back. Tunde poured the beer himself, then waved her away like she was a fly. She had just started walking away when he called again. "Wait, this beer is too cold. It is hurting my teeth. Go warm it up." Grace stared at him, certain she had misheard. "Sir?" "You heard me. Warm it up. Put it in the microwave for 10 seconds. She knew this was ridiculous. She knew he was just messing with her. But she took the glass back to the kitchen and put it in the microwave for exactly 10 seconds. When she brought it back, Tunde took one sip and spat it back into the glass. "This is disgusting. What is wrong with you? Throw it away and bring me a fresh one, a cold one this time." Grace felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she blinked them away. She threw away the beer, got a fresh one, opened it, poured it into a clean glass, and brought it back. This time, Tunde took a long drink and then ignored her completely. This became a daily pattern. Tunde would call her for something, make her do it, criticize her for doing it, make her do it again, and then act like she did not exist. Kemi was different. She did not yell or insult directly. Instead, she used Grace to wage war against Victoria. Every day, Kemi would send Grace to Victoria with messages. "Go tell Madame that I need to speak with her about Daddy's medication." Grace would deliver the message and Victoria would send her back with a different message. "Tell Kemi that if she has concerns about her father's medication, she should speak to the doctor, not to me." Back and forth, back and forth. Grace became a messenger in a cold war she did not understand, carrying passive-aggressive messages between two women who hated each other but were too refined to fight openly. Once, Kemi pulled Grace aside in the hallway. "My stepmother does not care about my father," she whispered conspiratorially. "She is just waiting for him to die so she can take everything. You see how she treats him, right? You see how she barely visits his room?" Grace did not know what to say. It was true that Victoria rarely spent time with Chief Adebayo, but Grace thought it was not her place to comment. "If anything happens to my father," Kemi continued, her voice dropping even lower, "I will make sure the police investigate thoroughly. I will make sure they question everyone in this house, including you. So you better take very good care of him. Understand?" It was a threat disguised as concern, and Grace understood it perfectly. Bola was pure chaos. She had brought her London lifestyle back to Lagos, which meant she was drunk or high most of the time. She would stumble into Chief Adebayo's room at random hours, crying about how much she loved her daddy, how she could not live without him. But 5 minutes later, she would be downstairs laughing with her friends, posting videos on Instagram with captions like "Lagos nightlife hits different" and "living my best life." Once, Bola threw a party at the mansion while Chief Adebayo was sleeping upstairs. The music was so loud that he woke up disoriented and tried to get out of bed. He fell, and Grace had to call for help to lift him back up. When Grace tried to tell Bola to lower the music, Bola looked at her like she had grown a second head. "Who do you think you are? You are a maid. My father's house, my father's party. If you do not like it, go back to whatever slum you came from." Grace said nothing. She just went back upstairs and sat with Chief Adebayo, holding his good hand while her trembled with frustration and humiliation. Shegu ignored Grace completely most of the time. He was too busy on his phone, placing bets, arguing with people, sweating every time his phone rang. But once, Grace accidentally walked into the living room while Shegun was on a call with one of his creditors. "I will have your money soon, I swear," Shegun was saying, his voice desperate. "My father is sick, very sick. Look, just give me 2 more months. I will pay you double, triple." He looked up and saw Grace standing there. His face went dark with rage. "What are you looking at? Get out! Get out now!" Grace left quickly, but she had heard enough. Shegun was betting on his father's death, literally. Despite everything, Grace found herself actually caring about Chief Adebayo. At first, it was just professional. He was her job, her responsibility. But slowly, as days turned into weeks, something changed. Chief Adebayo was different when they were alone. The mask of the tough businessman fell away, and underneath was just a scared, lonely man who knew he was dying. He started talking to her. At first, just small things. "The food is good today. Thank you, Grace." But then the conversations grew longer. He would tell her about his childhood in Ibadan, how he had started with nothing, how he had built his first company with a loan of 50,000 naira and sheer determination. He told her about his first wife, Tunde's mother, and how her death had broken something inside him. How he had married Victoria because he needed a partner, not because he loved her. And Grace listened. Not because she had to, but because she genuinely wanted to hear his stories. She did not see a billionaire or a dying man. She just saw someone who needed kindness. One evening, after Grace had finished feeding him dinner, Chief Adebayo grabbed her hand with his good one. His grip was weak, but the intensity in his eyes was strong. "Grace, I need to tell you something." She sat down on the edge of the bed, waiting. "I have been watching you," he said slowly, fighting to form each word. "The way you treat me, with respect, with kindness. Nobody else in this house treats me that way. They are your family, sir. They love you." Chief Adebayo made a sound that might have been a laugh if he had the strength for it. "No, they are waiting for me to die. I see it in their eyes. Even Victoria." Grace did not know what to say, so she stayed quiet. "Do you know what it is like?" Chief Adebayo continued, tears forming in his eyes. "To have everything and feel like you have nothing." "No, sir. I have 4 children, smart children, but none of them care about my legacy. Tunde stole from me. Kemi wants my money for her fake prophet husband. Bola wastes everything. And Shegum?" He stopped, too angry to continue. "I am sorry, sir. I am dying, Grace. The doctors gave me 6 months. That was 4 months ago. I have maybe 2 months left, maybe less." Grace felt her throat tighten. Despite everything, despite knowing him for only a few weeks, the thought of him dying made her sad. "And when I die," Chief Adebayo whispered, "everything I built will be destroyed. They will fight. They will steal. They will tear apart my life's work. And my name, Chief Adebayo Martins, will disappear." "That will not happen, sir." "Yes, it will. Unless—" He stopped, staring at her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "Unless what, sir?" "Unless I have a son." The room went very quiet. Grace could hear her own heartbeat. "A male heir," Chief Adebayo continued. "Someone who can inherit everything. Someone I can put in my will. Someone who will carry my name forward." Grace pulled her hand away gently. "Sir, you have 4 children already." "I have failures, not heirs. I need a son." "But sir, Victoria cannot have children. Not anymore. Menopause. And even if she could, do you think I would trust her? She would make sure my son never saw a single naira." Grace stood up, her mom racing.
She did not like where this conversation was going. "I am looking at you," Chief Adebayo said quietly, "because you are the only person in this house who treats me like a human being."
"Sir, please."
"I know what I am asking. I know how it sounds. But Grace, I do not have time. The cancer—" He stopped, and Grace's eyes went wide.
"Cancer?"
"They did not tell you. Brain cancer. The stroke was just the beginning. I am rotting from the inside. If I am lucky, I have 60 days.
Grace felt dizzy. 60 days.
"I will give you everything,"
Chief Adebayo said, desperation creeping into his slurred speech.
"Money, education, a house. Your siblings will go to the best schools. Your aunt will never sell pure water again. I will change your life. I will change your family's destiny."
"Sir, I cannot."
"Just think about it. Please, just think."
But before she could respond, they both heard footsteps approaching the door. Grace jumped away from the bed just as Victoria walked in, her cold eyes scanning the room suspiciously.
"What is going on here?" Victoria asked.
"Nothing, Ma. I was just giving Sir his evening medication."
Victoria walked over to the bed and looked down at her husband. "Were you two having a conversation?" "Just checking on me," Chief Adebayo managed to say.
Victoria turned to Grace.
"Go to the kitchen. Make me some tea. Not too hot, not too sweet. And if you get it wrong again, I will deduct it from your salary."
"Yes, Ma." As Grace hurried out of the room, she could feel Victoria's eyes burning into her back. And for the first time since arriving at the mansion, Grace felt real fear. Because she knew Victoria suspected something. And in this house, suspicion was as dangerous as poison. If you want to find out whether Grace accepts Chief Adebayo's desperate offer, if you want to know what Victoria is planning behind closed doors, if you want to discover whether Grace is truly as innocent as she seems, or if she has her own agenda, then make sure you subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this video, because what happens next will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about loyalty, desperation, and survival. Trust me, this story is just getting started. Do not miss part 2.